Hey, and welcome back to the channel, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. This is the latest and greatest foldable from Samsung. Now, I've never gotten a Z Fold review unit before, so huge shout out to Samsung and AT&T for sending this over. But yeah, I got this review unit a few weeks ago, and spoiler alert, I think Samsung hands down has the best or most complete foldable software out in the market right now. Let me tell you why. All right, so just like any of my reviews on this channel, let's do a quick overview of the Z Fold 5 specs real quick. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 uses the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, which is basically an overclocked version of the 8 Gen 2. We've seen this in the S23 Ultra earlier this year, and it's now here on the Fold. But anyways, this unit that I have has 256 gigs of storage, but you can spec this up to 1 terabyte if you'd like, and the Z Fold 5 also comes with 12 gigs of RAM. In terms of battery, it has a 4400 milliamp hour battery with charging speeds up to 25 watts wired and 15 watts wirelessly. The outer display on the Z Fold 5 looks the same as last year's. It's still that same narrow yet tall display, and it's a 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED display that goes up to 120 Hz with a peak brightness of 1750 nits. And then you have the bigger 7.6 inch inner display, also a dynamic AMOLED display up to 120 Hz and with a peak brightness of 1750 nits. Around back, you'll see a triple camera setup, which are pretty much the same sensors as the ones on last year's Z Fold 4. And then you have, the selfie camera on the outside display and one also on the inside under the screen when it's unfolded. Now, the Z Fold 5 also comes in a few different colors, which are actually pretty nice. My favorite would probably be the icy blue colorway, but my unit is in Phantom Black, which is all right, but just like my Pixel Fold, I hit up Dbrand to check out some of their skins for the Z Fold 5 and Z Flip 5, and I went ahead and added their palette skins to my Z Fold 5, which made the boring Phantom Black color to look a lot cooler and definitely much more unique looking than Samsung's icy blue colorway. Now, if you're not a fan of this design, you can opt in for, their Damascus skin, which I slapped on my Pixel Fold, or if you want something a little bit more classy, then go for their leather skins, which not only looks good, but adds a nice grippy texture to it that will look even better the more you use your phone. But anyways, if you want to get your own Z Fold 5 or Z Flip 5 skins, use the first link down below or go to dbrand.com/heymarkel. All right, now that we're caught up on its specs, how is it using the Z Fold 5? So just a little bit of background, I just finished using the Pixel Fold, so I'm literally coming from one foldable to another, and to my surprise, I'm actually loving this design. Like I said earlier, this is the first time I'm dailying a fold from Samsung, and it's definitely the best in-hand fold that I've used from them. Now, I've actually had the chance to play with the first Z Fold as well as the Z Fold 4 from last year, and while this year and last year's kind of look similar when unfolded, the fact that Samsung finally closed the gap literally makes a big difference day to day. So the outer display, in my opinion, is a love or hate thing. Sometimes I love it for how narrow it is, so one-handed use is pretty much doable, but then sometimes I hate it because of how tall it is and how it's too narrow. Now, unlike the Pixel Fold, I find myself using the inside display a lot more versus the outside. It's like 80% inner display and then 20% using the cover display. Now, navigating throughout the menus and apps on the outside cover display is still pretty nice. With that adaptive 120 Hz refresh rate, everything feels super fast, very fluid, and didn't notice any hiccups when switching from one app to another. And when you unfold it, you're greeted with that massive display with tiny bezels and of course, the under-screen camera, which makes the display look super modern, unlike the Pixel Fold. Now, I really like this display a lot. Watching videos or playing games is a lot more enjoyable for whatever reason. And the crease, while it is still visible in certain angles, it's getting close to or on par with the Oppo Find N2 and Xiaomi Mix Fold 2. I feel like the more you use this fold, the less it'll bother you. So yeah, I can't really complain much here. Besides that, the display looks gorgeous with vivid but accurate colors, and the brightness levels on both the outside and inside display are great. I've used this phone a ton outside and can still see the screen even in the hot summer sun. Now, when it comes to performance and battery life, it's the same processor as the S23 Ultra, and like I said in that review, this processor is a beast and can handle pretty much anything and everything you throw at it. Whether you're multitasking or you're playing a ton of games or using Samsung's DeX, it's very capable, and it's a processor that will definitely not slow down anytime soon. Now, when it comes to battery, I found that the Z Fold 5 was actually pretty terrible in the first few days of, using it. I think it's just because I was setting it up and I was on the phone more, but after a couple of weeks of using this as my daily driver, it totally got better. And typically I'm not a super heavy user or multitasker, and more often than not on a foldable, I'm mostly watching videos or playing games, and my game of choice is Diablo Immortal or Asphalt 9. And then when I have some downtime, I'd play about 30 to 45 minutes, and battery would really only drop about 5 to 8%, which is awesome considering I'm playing on a massive display. But day to day, on average, I'd end the day at around 11 p.m. with about 40% battery left, which is a lot better than other foldables that I've been using recently. But again, like I say in my other reviews, how you use your phone could be a lot different than, how I use mine. So please take my testing with a grain of salt, and you might be able to end your day with 50% or maybe 20%. It's really up to you and what you do on your phone. But for me, it's been great, and I've been testing this on AT&T's network, which has been flawless for me. Now onto software. So with all the latest updates installed, nothing really changed from the initial launch period. No major camera improvements or general software changes since the phone launch, but I will say I have an AT&T branded Z Fold 5, and typically I review phones that are unlocked, so I tend to get very little to no bloatware pre-installed, but this AT&T version had maybe about 10 random apps pre-installed out of the box, plus AT&T apps that I just can't uninstall for whatever reason. It's annoying, but thankfully the stock One UI launcher allows me to hide apps that I'm not using on a daily basis, so that's what I'm gonna be doing here. But yeah, once you get everything set up though, the software experience on the Z Fold 5, like I said in the beginning of this video, might just be the best software that I've used on a foldable. With 5 years of experience under their belt, I'd hope so, and Samsung really delivered here. Everything felt like it's meant to be there, from the dock that allows you to drag and drop apps to split screen, to the ability to even put a third app in that split screen, or how about the ability to have YouTube playing horizontally without having to rotate your device, or what about the ability to choose from a vertical split screen or horizontal split screen? Little things that are missing from the Pixel Fold, and it's on here. Those are just some of the basic things that I liked about the Z Fold 5 right away in terms of its fold features. But one thing I especially liked is that Samsung gives you the option to have separate setups for the outside cover display and inner display, which again, I did not have when I was on my Pixel Fold. But if you want your setups to be mirrored, you also have that option too. Now for me, this is huge because on the outside cover display, I like to only have certain apps on the home screen, and the bigger display, I have more of the everyday apps and widgets that I want access to right away. Okay, so let's talk cameras. Now, as you guys have seen, the Z Fold 5 has a total of 5 cameras, but we're gonna be focusing on the triple camera setup on the back, because why use the tiny sensors on those selfie cameras when you have the powerful ones on the back? So the triple camera on the back consists of a 50 megapixel main camera, one 12 megapixel camera for the ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto lens. Now, these are the same sensors we've seen on the Z Fold 4, and one thing I wish Samsung did on the camera front was upgrade the ultra wide and telephoto to a higher megapixel count, or give us better sensors. Now, while the triple camera sensors on the Z Fold 5 is fine, it would have been nice to see upgraded cameras rather than, rehashing what we've already seen last year. So in everyday normal conditions outdoors, the Z Fold 5, no matter what focal length you choose, looks pretty good. Although I noticed they can be a little bit saturated, so colors will really pop and it's got this contrasty look to it. Some shots will tend to look a little bit too over-processed, maybe a little bit of over-sharpening, but day to day, the photos out of the Z Fold 5 looks really good. Now, in not so great lighting, I feel like photo performance could be better. I feel like I'm noticing a little bit of smudging, especially in very dark environments, but also the shutter lag is quite apparent at night. But besides that, I think the white balance is solid, colors are pretty much true to life, but yeah, definitely some slight over-processing happening here. Now, with this being a foldable, you can also prop up your phone in so many different ways, and you can also use the cover display as your viewfinder and use all 3 focal lengths if you want to take better looking selfies, which is awesome. Now, when it comes to video, it's about what you'd expect from a foldable device. It's good, but not all that great. I don't think the Z Fold 5 would be my first smartphone of choice when I want to record a video, but if you're picking up the Z Fold 5 over the S23 Ultra, then maybe you don't really care too much about its cameras. But I don't know, I'm not in love with the post-processing here on the video front as well. But yeah, that's the Galaxy Z Fold 5. From the outside, it doesn't seem like too much of an upgrade from the Z Fold 4, but it's definitely a big step up from the Z Fold 3 and below. And if you're in the US and you have, let's say an old Z Fold 3, for example, or even a Z Fold 4, and you're debating on upgrading to the Z Fold 5, you might want to take a look at Samsung's trade-in program. Depending on when you're watching this video, but as of right now in August of 2023, I can trade in a Z Fold 3 for $800 or Z Fold 4 for $1,000, and with that I can get a 512 gig storage Z Fold 5 in select colors for $1,000 if I trade in a Z Fold 3, or $800 if I trade in a Z Fold 4. I think if you can justify the upgrade, you'll really enjoy the benefits of the upgraded processor that's more powerful and more efficient, a fold that now shuts flat, but also the software is just so good that it's kind of becoming the gold standard for a foldable. I think their optimizations with certain apps and how they handle non-optimized apps is done really well. And when more apps are optimized for big screen Android devices, that's when you'll really appreciate having a fold. But even without those optimizations, this is still a great pickup that I know for sure power users are gonna love. Anyways, that's been it for this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out my review on the Z Flip 5, which is actually being edited by the time you're watching this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.